What's up, everyone? My name is Jesse. This is the Auditorium. I react to video game music for the first time as a musician myself, and today is the debut, I think, of Fantasian. Apparently, from what I'm reading, this is the quote-unquote final game that Nobuo Uematsu worked on before retiring. I had no idea. I don't even that he retired. I thought he was still going, but okay. Cool. This is Stormy Sandseas. Wait, am I saying that right? Yeah, Stormy Sandseas and Shangri-La. Both are from the channel Knick Knack Emporium, requested by Pookster Prime and Ket the Fox. I scrolled down here and it says music by Nobuo Uematsu and support Mistwalker and play Fantasian. Mistwalker? I just played a game for Mistwalker, Lost Odyssey. So that's something. I don't know they were still around, or actually I don't even know when this was released. But kind of funny that Nobuo was working on something that resembles the name of Final Fantasy again, but okay. It's cool to hear Nobuo Uematsu doing other stuff. So, here's to start off with Stormy Sandseas, and it looks to be an airship, so this is probably Final Fantasy inspired. Then again, Mistwalker is created by the guy who created it, so. Alright, this is Stormy Sandseas. I don't know what plays where. What? Nobuo Uematsu. I kind of wish I didn't know that at first. Maybe I could have told. But we'll see. I'm only gonna look up the year it was released. Oh, 4 years ago. So Mistwalker has been around. Is this supposed to be a city, right? Looks like a mirage. I don't know if he retired. Makes me think a lot of things, actually. Like maybe put his all into it one more time, or maybe he didn't know it was going to be his last. One of those island instruments. Ironically, it does sound very distant worldsy, very live performance. Guessing you got an orchestra for this. It's for Apple? What? It's a mobile game? An Apple specific? I'll read more of them. I just saw Apple. I was like, what? Ironically enough, it kind of sounds like an airship theme that he would make. But yeah, it definitely sounds like him. It sounds like the later him. Less proggy and more orchestral. Man, he's really good at what he does. This by far isn't my favorite of his works. But it's so early, But it's just, he's just still so good at what he does. You can hear the 40 years of experience. It's crazy. Even though it's orchestral, it always has his stuff has this like undertone of like rock underneath. You could totally hear that with like dun 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 dun. Dun. I could hear the prog in there. It's just puts different flavors and instruments on it. Um, yeah. So okay, I don't think I've heard Fantasian. I should have looked that up actually. I don't think I have. I feel like I would remember that. But in case you didn't know, nope, it's my first time. This is the debut. Okay, so in case you didn't know, before 2021, I didn't know who Nobuo Uematsu is. I just like every other thing, I discovered it here, and it kind of like immediately, his music really caught my attention quick. We had oh gosh, we had Dancing Mad, we had the Airbuster, the Extreme, One Winged Angel. Gosh, we just so many things, right? Midgar Expressway from Remake, Hollow Skies from Remake remains one of my favorite video game songs. I have now played a handful of games with him at the helm. I have played, to my knowledge, let's see. Wow, okay, FF7, Remake, Rebirth, Crisis Core does not count, that wasn't him. FF8, FF9, soon FF10, which is not entirely him, but soon. And people claim that's some of his best work. Lost Odyssey, which I just played, and I loved that soundtrack. So a handful of songs now that I've a lot of hours spent with his music in my ears. Some of you have decades. For me, I have like 2 or 3 years of experience of just listening to him. And for those that use Spotify or other stuff, at the end of the year they give you like a Wrapped to show you how much you've heard an artist. Nobuo Uematsu has been like, I think, my most listened to. He was either last year or the year before, or maybe the past 2 years, my most listened artist. So I went from never hearing about him to, he just, every time he's on my shelf, I'm like, oh, gotta hear it, can't skip it. And a lot of that is the Extreme, Hollow Skies, and stuff like that. So not only that is obviously his humongous influence on future composers that had to, take the reins, like Naoshi Mizuta, Masashi Hamzu. There's a lot, right? And they all have their own thing, but it's just not every day you get to hear someone who influenced such a many generations of current composers. It's kind of wild to think about. People that are now in their 20s to 40s probably inspired by him at some point, at least in Japan. So I don't know. It's so even though the song is like clearly like his later work, which is less hard hitting and more just professional, I guess, sounding, I could still hear the talent, and I could still hear the years and years and years of experience. I'm going to read about this while the next one starts, but it definitely had his, 2 things came to mind. One, I'm staring at an airship. So it's like, it kind of sounded like an airship theme, to be honest. But it's called, what was it? Stormy Sandseas. So if I had to guess, probably like a cutscene similar to this, like in a desert. But honestly, who knows? It kind of reminded me a little bit of like one of the cutscenes in FF9. I don't want to spoil it, but it's like a cutscene where you're going to Limblum, I think. Just like, which is also on an airship. So I don't know. Cool. This one I think is a boss theme. So I feel like this is going to be probably more up his alley and mine. And while this is happening, I'm going to read about this. Also, if you wanted to hear more Nobuo Uematsu from Mistwalker, one, I did a guitar cover for the final boss of Lost Odyssey on my 3rd channel. And if you want to hear one on your own, Battle Conditions from Lost Odyssey. Woo! All right, this is Shangri-La. That's the sound I like from him. I'm thinking of the Extreme now. I've heard of the name Shangri-La before. Fictional mythical paradise. Ooh. Okay, maybe it's not a boss theme. It's a mystical paradise. I love the way he arpeggiates. Two vocalists. Although it's the same person, I think. Does it say who the singer is? Oh yeah, I was gonna read about the whole Apple thing. Oh, this sounds cool. What the heck? They're released in 2 parts. Yep, Hironobu Sakaguchi produced it. This is great because I wouldn't think this is him. It's really fun when the composer can not sound like himself. This is cool. The arpeggio sounds like him. Ooh. Damn. So this is an Apple-only thing? Oh no, it's released on stuff. It's a Switch, PS4, PS5. Wait, so what was the whole Apple thing about? Oh, it's almost over. What a nice voice. So, I don't know what Shangri-La is, but I just quick Google said it was like a mystical place. Okay, so 2021 RPG developed and published by Miss Walker. So, but it says for Apple devices via the Apple Arcade platform. I've never heard of Apple Arcade. I don't play anything mobile, if that's what that is. And what I think is happening here, I could be wrong, but it was released later as Fantasian Neo Dimension, and that's what's on consoles and stuff. I could be wrong about that. Yeah, actually. It says platforms, iOS, macOS, tvOS, and then for Neo Dimension has Switch, PS4, PS5, Windows. So it's probably available on Steam. Why was it released in 2 parts? Whoa, okay, whoa, this is interesting. So it was released April Fool's Day 2021. Part 2 in August of that year. Which, does that mean it was unfinished? Or, I don't know. And then Neo Dimension came out 3 years later. Last year. 11 months ago. Fantasian began development in 2018 after producer and writer Hironobu Sakaguchi, creator of Final Fantasy, replayed Final Fantasy VI and was reinvigorated to create an emotional role-playing narrative. Damn. Inspired by his own game, which people call like one of the best video games ever, which I'll be playing eventually. A version for home consoles and Windows, Fantasian Neo Dimension was released on December 5th, 2024 by Square Enix. This version comes with high-definition graphics, gameplay adjustments, and voice acting in English and Japanese. Okay. There's a lot of surprises here. I don't know Miss Walker was still around. because they've been around since the early 2000s. Um, I was under the impression that Sakaguchi and Square Enix relationship is soured, and that's why he made Mistwalker. But I guess after 2 decades, it's okay. I don't know. But obviously, he kept a relationship with Uematsu, who created this, and I wonder really if he knew this was going to be his last project. I don't know. I don't know if it seems kind of weird to think, not to talk down on mobile games, but to a mobile game being like your last. I don't know. It seems kind of weird. There's a lot of questions. The 2 parts and then the release. I'm guessing it just did really well, and then it's got ported, or was that like the plan all along? Either way, the music was fantastic. I liked the second one a lot. The first one I kind of already forgot what it sounded like. It was a little bit on the generic side, but that's okay. Games need that. I feel like the first one is really like serving what I'm guessing is a cutscene that is going on. This second one is like more what I associate with him, which is earworms. You know, when I think of Nobuo Uematsu over a lot of composers, is melodies that stick with you and staying power. He has some of the most memorable stuff like in the video game world, and this is one of those. Dun, da, 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 you know that thing? That's gonna get stuck in my head, and it already is. Plus, it had the arpeggiated notes, which remind me of the Extreme. So, really good stuff here. I like the second one. First one, I think it needs to cook a little more in my head, or just experience what this is. Let me know what you think of this game. Is it how do I say this? Like, for example, would you recommend this to a Final Fantasy fan? Because now that I've played both and Lost Odyssey, I would recommend Lost Odyssey to a Final Fantasy or turn-based fan, because it's basically a Final Fantasy game, just with different characters and name, but it plays the exact same. So is Fantasian something that's like, you know, right up the alley of a Square Enix Sakaguchi fan thing? Anyways, that's Shangri-La and Stormy Sandseas. I keep forgetting the name of that thing. Let me know what's happening, and there's a few other requests for it too, so look out for those someday. But cool. Debuts are always fun. That is Fantasian, and the channel is Knick Knack Emporium. Thank you to the requesters. Thanks to everyone you see on screen. I couldn't be here without them. Thanks to you for watching. My name is Jesse. The Auditorium. Have a good night.